Welcome everyone to the 106 Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be looking into Beyoncé and Jay-Z. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Madeline and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a Synastry chart looking at the personal planet signs aspects and if birth time available house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us weekly, and let's get right into this one. Starting off with the sun, we have Beyonce's sun in Virgo and Jay-Z's sun in Sagittarius. These are both mutable signs. They balance each other out and they work well together, which I feel like would be very useful for them. Conflict easily occurs and Beyonce feels frustrated with Jay. Jay gets annoyed with Beyonce. This is just reminiscent to me of, I guess, this sort of public, I don't want to say public feud, that's not the right word. I guess how they publicly will call each other out in their music, particularly with Beyonce. Beyonce's sun overlaid in Jay's 12th house. They are different people and there is an atmosphere of mystery. Marriage is not possible. They have no idea why they are together. I mean, maybe initially when they first met, they thought marriage wasn't possible because clearly they've been married for a while now. They don't understand each other and Beyonce finds Jay unpredictable. Beyonce sees Jay as exotic and strange, and Beyonce feels that Jay doesn't approve of her, which I feel like would be going back to, I guess, back in the day, like, you know, Beyonce came from a sort of like, I guess, more girly pop background, you could say. Like, you know, she came from the band and everything, it was more pop and fun, whereas Jay-Z's whole sort of like image was a bit more rougher and everything. And I believe that he's like from New York, whereas Beyonce is from Texas, I imagine, which the north and east, I imagine, is a bit of a cultural difference in America. So I assume that is where like the whole like, you know, predictability, the whole exotic and strange thing and all of that is where, you know, this is coming from. The relationship requires a lot of patience and Beyonce is attracted to Jay against her judgment. It's sort of like I guess she's seeing him as like this sort of like bad boy and she feels like too good for him. Jay's sun overlaid in Beyonce's second house. Marriage is not possible. We're seeing again. I'm very curious to see where this reading will go, particularly with the longevity, because otherwise, what? Beyonce is a valuable asset to Jay and Beyonce may feel used. Beyonce senses Jay wants something more and they both may be working towards a common goal. Jay sees Beyonce as someone who can help him achieve goals. I assume this is related to it because I believe they have made music together, even toured, I believe. The suns are squared to each other, so it's love-hate and there's a lack of understanding we've seen before already. They both assume the role of leader, which, I mean, I guess in their own way, like they've become leaders together, I would say. Competitiveness is a problem and they challenge each other to grow and develop. They initially find each other charming and attractive. Jay-Z's sun sextile Beyonce's Jupiter. Jay energizes Beyonce and they are good travel companions, which I assume would go back to how, like, I believe they have toured together, or I'm sure like throughout their like long marriage and like having a family together in their careers, I'm sure they would have traveled together like at least a few times, surely. Beyonce is generous with Jay and mutual respect remains after the end. Okay. They both want to make the other happy and Beyonce opens up new doors for Jay. Beyonce boosts Jay's confidence and Beyonce frequently gives Jay the benefit of the doubt. I mean, this is just going back to how she seems to be quite a valuable asset to him, and yeah, like, you know, she kind of probably feels abused, but is forgiving of it. Jay-Z's sun is sextile Beyonce Saturn. It's a long-term relationship and they work on common goals together. I'm glad we're seeing a little bit of positivity, not just marriage is not possible when they are married. Beyonce is loyal to Jay and they both feel they can rely on each other. They both feel a sense of commitment to each other and they can work together business-wise. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry readings on my Etsy store, both basic and detailed. The basic one is very simple to understand. It's not overwhelming at all. It's pretty good for those that are beginners to astrology, just getting the head around astrology, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed one is just like what I do on my channel, just a lot of insight and interpretation on your chart. So if you are interested in that and everything else, astrology and tarot related, readings and gifts, then definitely check out my Etsy store. links are below. I'm always releasing new things, so definitely check it out if you're interested. You can even just favorite the store just to show your support for free. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the reading. So now it's time for moon. We have Beyonce's moon in Scorpio and Jay-Z's moon in Libra. Beyonce may be subtly dominating. The only way I can see this so far is I guess she seems to hold a bit more power over Jay-Z, like she seems to be the one that is able to help him. Beyonce likely provokes trouble, and Jay's superficiality does not impress Beyonce. Jay doesn't understand Beyonce's dark needs. It's an interesting time reading this, and also I guess the sort of like controversy going on, particularly with Beyonce. I guess especially the sort of like meme with the whole like, I don't even like that's a whole thing you guys can watch. It's a lot to get into. But yeah, the whole meme with Beyonce and her sort of like darker needs and desires and all of that. Beyonce's moon overlaid in Jay's third house. It's cooperative and friendly, and Beyonce admires Jay's lifestyle. So I wonder if she was drawn to his sort of more like bad boy rapper lifestyle, because she definitely didn't like come from that sort of similar background, if that makes sense. Jay enjoys Beyonce's company, and Beyonce is supportive of Jay's priorities. I hate to say it, like from what we're seeing so far, she seems to be a bit of a doormat for him. Jay thinks of Beyonce often, and it's relaxed and productive. They don't irritate each other, and they communicate well. Jay's moon overlaid in Beyonce's 12th house. There's a lack of trust, and Jay feels that Beyonce is hiding something interesting. So it's Beyonce senses Jay's suspicions, and there is no logical base for this lack of trust and paranoia. I mean, I guess like I see the no logical base, but I'm sure in that sort of industry, particularly when Beyonce is very like, you know, admired sought after. I think, you know, I guess before now, like she was very like well respected and all of that. And I'm sure maybe like for both of them really, like they're both very well respected in their industry. And I'm sure they would both like suspect that people are throwing themselves at them. And although maybe logically there is nothing to really suspect the other, like that whole nature of the industry, you would kind of, you know, your head might go there. Difficult for them to deal with wounded feelings. Beyonce's moon is square Jay's Mars. It's a stormy relationship, and they both will need to work out issues as they come. Difficult relationship emotionally if there are children. This is interesting considering we did see like marriage is not possible. It's interesting that we're seeing these more sort of domestic, like serious, more line markers in their relationship, if that makes sense, is not really the best for them. But that is kind of what they're known for. It's an emotional roller coaster, and Jay doesn't have the patience to connect with Beyonce's feelings. They're very reactive to each other, and there is possibility for codependency. I mean, kind of, I see it because they're both very associated with each other. Like, I'm sure if they would separate, like especially now, like that would be an insane divorce. It's hard to relax together, and Jay's independence makes Beyonce feel insecure. So there definitely seems to be on both sides, like I guess a lack of trust and like assuming the other might be stepping out. Resentment can grow. Jay-Z's moon conjunct Beyonce's Mercury. They enjoy long conversations, and they enjoy being each other's therapist. I assume this would be more Beyonce playing therapist, considering we did see that Jay doesn't have that patience. Sometimes Beyonce is too logical for Jay, and Beyonce is a practical help to Jay. We're seeing again, sharing ideas is a big part of the relationship, and Jay can get easily attached to Beyonce. Jay-Z's moon is sextile Beyonce's Mars. They are open with each other, and Beyonce feels more assertive. So again, going back to that subtly dominating thing she has going on, there is mutual fascination, and Jay makes Beyonce feel at ease. Beyonce helps Jay be more confident and bold, and Jay feeds into Beyonce's ego. They both learn about themselves here, and it can be tumultuous at times. Jay-Z's moon conjunct Beyonce's Jupiter. Easy to overdo and be excessive. I mean, I feel like this would be related to the sort of like amount of wealth they have together. It's crazy. It's a relationship of opportunities and fortune, and they have a positive influence as a couple. I mean, they kind of did, like, you know, before everything, all the current controversies they're going in, I feel like they were viewed fairly positively. They need to learn balance and they take risks as a couple. Jay feels lucky and more adventurous around Beyoncé, which I mean, I'm sure would be related to her sort of practical help and the sort of connections and everything she's giving him. They support people in need, and Beyoncé expands Jay's way of thinking about life. Jay-Z's moon conjunct Beyoncé's Saturn. Jay feels an emotional need to maintain long-term commitment. So it seems like they are both quite dedicated to each other, like they both have an attachment to the other. It doesn't seem like that either one is like disloyal or anything. I feel like particularly with like, you know, Beyoncé, I don't want to say she's more popular. Maybe it's just me knowing her music a bit more. But I feel like there is a lot more speculation that Jay-Z is the one that isn't loyal. It seems like they are both loyal and committed to each other, but they both seem to have like suspicions of the other, if that makes sense. Beyoncé wants to guide Jay, and Beyoncé is protective of Jay. Relationship based on mutual respect, and Jay may either be upset with the help or accepting of it. It seems like he's accepting it, I should say. From what we have seen, definitely that. Beyoncé gives practical support rather than emotional support. We haven't really seen a whole lot of emotionalness to this so far, have we? It seems to be like not at the front center, which is fine. I guess you could see maybe enjoying being each other's therapist. Maybe that has to do like potentially with other things rather than emotions. So now it's on to Mercury. We have Beyoncé's Mercury in Libra and Jay-Z's Mercury in Sagittarius. Easy to find common ground, and they are both positive and outgoing in communication. Beyoncé doesn't understand how Jay takes things personally. I wonder if this is related to Jay's suspicion with Beyoncé when it comes to like, you know, him feeling that she's hiding something and not really having logical facts for that. Beyoncé's interest in talking about others can tire Jay-Z. So he doesn't seem to have a lot of patience when it comes to listening to her. Beyoncé's Mercury overlaid in Jay's first house. Beyoncé can easily express herself to Jay, and Jay feels more talkative around Beyoncé. Jay finds it easy to understand Beyoncé. Maybe he's just more of a superficial guy, or like has like a low capacity when it comes to listening to others, if that makes sense. Jay-Z's Mercury overlaid in Beyoncé's third house. Beyoncé is more chatty around Jay-Z, and Jay enjoys long conversations with Beyoncé. Beyoncé will enjoy conversations with Jay. Beyoncé's Mercury sextile Jay-Z's Venus. They encourage each other to express themselves, and there's easy communication. They're attuned emotionally. I feel like they'll be attuned emotionally. Maybe they don't really need, you know, another person to like, you know, support that emotional, you know, their emotional health, if that makes sense, because we haven't seen a whole lot when it comes to their emotions. So potentially it is the lack of emotions that is doing it for them. They enjoy the same movies and music, and they share mutual friends, and they enjoy socializing together. Beyoncé's Mercury conjunct Jay-Z's Uranus. Jay challenges Beyoncé's way of thinking, and they both enjoy experimenting. I assume this would have to do with this sort of like, I mean, I feel like the whole like image, I guess you could say, in their career. They come up with original ideas together, and they are impulsive together. They are creative together, and they discover new ways of seeing the world together. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, they definitely have a very unique relationship, I would say. Like, they're very much like a, you know, massive power couple, which, and they did, I don't want to say they like came rags to riches together. But they did, you know, get together fairly early-ish on in their careers. They grow intellectually together, and Beyoncé truly understands Jay's originality, which potentially is why she can be so insistent in helping him. They share an interest in unusual topics, and they casually talk about taboos. They find uncommon solutions to problems. Beyoncé's Mercury sextile Jay's Neptune. There's easy communication, and they share creative interests. They just get each other, and they both enjoy talking about art, dreams, and spirituality, and they are captivated by each other. Beyoncé's Mercury conjunct Jay's Pluto. Beyoncé's words influence Jay, and they have deep conversations. So it seems like they are able to have like, you know, normal conversations. They are able to have like, you know, conversations that actually have substance to it. So I assume maybe Jay occasionally gets, fed up with Beyonce and like doesn't, loses patience to listen to her. Jay tends to dominate conversation, and light conversations usually end up in deep conversations. It's transformative, and they both feel they can have a lot to learn from each other. They have a mutual attraction of the other's mind, and Jay tries to impose his beliefs on Beyonce. Jay demands to know Beyonce's secrets, so he is quite possessive, I would say. Is that the right word? He seems to be quite suspicious of Beyonce, it seems like. We have Jay's Mercury sextile Beyonce's Venus, so this is a repeated aspect, just inverted. There is nothing to be particularly inverted, so I would just leave it at that. Jay-Z's Mercury conjunct Beyonce's Neptune. Spirituality is prioritized, and they have a telepathic-like connection. There's deceptive and exaggerative communication, and Jay helps Beyonce turn her dreams into reality. I'm glad it's a bit reciprocated. It's not just Beyonce. Jay finds Beyonce confusing, and they have a habit of telling the other what they want to hear. It's hard to talk about practical matters, and they are compassionate towards each other. Jay-Z's Mercury sextile Beyonce's Pluto. They're interested in unique subjects together. I do want to address this because I feel like I'm gonna get something about this in the comments, considering all the controversy happening now. Because we did see, like, they casually talk about taboos. Like, again, we did see before they share an interest in unusual topics, now unique topics, and Beyonce's darker needs. I just wanted to address, I do see it. I don't know what to make of it. It's a therapist-patient relationship. We sing again, which is interesting. They share a lot together, and they get to the bottom of things quickly. Jay is fascinated by Beyonce's depth, and they tell each other their deepest secrets. So I guess Jay demanding to know Beyonce's secrets works. They resolve deeper matters together, and they both heal from past relationships together. I'm not sure. I believe both of them did have some kind of serious relationship before they got together. I mean, but that was a while back, so I'm hoping that is all healed now. Beyonce appreciates Jay's humor, and Beyonce opens up Jay to new ways of thinking. This definitely seems to be a strong theme in their relationship. Jay uplifts Beyonce. So now we're on to Venus. We have Beyonce's Venus in Libra and Jay-Z's Venus in Scorpio. They are committed to each other, and they're attracted to each other. Jay is charmed by Beyonce, and Beyonce is intrigued by Jay's intensity. So I guess that whole sort of intense, like, I guess hardcore, is that the right word? That sort of rougher lifestyle that Jay-Z's initial image was. It seems like she was attracted to all of that. What is attractive at first becomes conflict, and Jay doesn't understand Beyonce's desire for equality. Oh, this is a little wrench thrown in here. Interesting. Beyonce's Venus overlaid in Jay-Z's second house. Beyonce is focused on what she can get out of this relationship, and Beyonce doesn't feel committed to Jay-Z. No wonder if, like, she feels that way and it doesn't, and that translates to Jay-Z, I should say. Like, no wonder he's all possessive and everything. Jay is careful to not get emotionally invested in Beyonce. Jay-Z's Venus overlaid in Beyonce's second house, so this is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So Jay is focused on what he can get out of the relationship. Not surprisingly so for him. I feel like, we did see a bit of a sprinkle where Jay does help Beyonce, achieve her goals and dreams. But there is a lot more that Jay gets out of this relationship, it seems like, from Beyonce. Jay doesn't feel committed to Beyonce, and Beyonce is careful to not get emotionally invested in Jay. No wonder they're so paranoid about the other and feel like the other one is, like, stepping out and everything. Beyonce's Venus trine Jay-Z's Mars. Jay enjoys spending time with Beyonce, and it is fulfilling. Beyonce makes Jay feel confident and desirable, and they have strong romantic feelings, and the feeling of love never fades away. Jay-Z's Venus trine Beyonce's Mars, so this is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So Beyonce enjoys spending time with Jay, and Jay makes Beyonce feel confident and desirable. Which I wanted to touch on that as well. Like, this seems to be another, like, stronger theme to these two as well, like making each other feel confident, and they have both seem to have an equal attraction to each other, which I know it's a bit of a meme. Like, I guess before everything now, like, that Beyonce's only mistake was, going out with someone like Jay-Z. Jay-Z's Venus conjunct Beyonce's Uranus. There is an instant attraction, and they share unusual interests. again, oh gosh, initial attraction fades and Jay is attracted to Beyonce's unpredictability. So now it's time for Mars. We have Beyonce's Mars in Leo and Jay's Mars in Aquarius. These are sister polarity signs and also fixed signs. Beyonce doesn't get the admiration she wants from Jay-Z. The only way I'm really seeing this is we did see that that Jay-Z doesn't understand Beyonce's desire for equality. I wonder if maybe, I don't know, he tends to put her like down, or like, you know, tends to put himself up and effectively puts her down in that way. But I guess that's connected. They both have a superiority complex. Whoa. They maintain their independence, and Beyonce can be too much for Jay-Z. Beyonce's Mars overlaid in Jay-Z's 11th house. Beyonce is detached when pursuing Jay, and Jay always feels out of Beyonce's reach. Interesting. It seems like she definitely overall holds a bit more power. It seems like she has a lot more, I guess, on Jay-Z in terms of like she seems to have more supplies. Is that the right word? I guess more resources is the better one. That can help Jay-Z. She seems to be quite an intense person, always out of Jay-Z's reach. They both enjoy their freedom here, and Jay is intrigued by Beyonce's rebelliousness. I mean, literally rebelling, I guess, against her sort of like family and her sort of image, you could say, by being with Jay-Z, particularly in the beginning. Jay-Z's Mars overlaid in Beyonce's 4th house. Jay pushes Beyonce out of her comfort zone, and Beyonce is nurturing to Jay. Jay can't provide the peace Beyonce wants, and Jay feels flustered around Beyonce. Beyonce creates a safe space for Jay, and arguments are heated due to being defensive and emotional. Beyonce's Mars squared Jay's Jupiter. They meet in a fun way, and Jay sees Beyonce as selfish. They encourage each other to be reckless, and Beyonce sees Jay's logic as a hindrance. And Jay may be a bad influence on Beyonce. I mean, I guess you could see this like stereotypically, but otherwise I'm not sure where. Beyonce's Mars squared Jay's Saturn. Beyonce tries to impress Jay, so it seems like there is an element of like, I guess, you know, Beyonce wanting to like rebel and step out of her like good girl image, you know, and like join the, you know, Jay-Z's, I don't know what you would call it, like the bad boy side. I don't know. Jay's standards are in conflict with Beyonce's efforts. So it seems like there was, I feel like in the beginning, there was definitely a bit of like a, you know, good girl, bad boy type of dynamic where potentially like, I don't know, maybe Jay didn't think Beyonce was cool enough, or you know, he didn't feel like he was good enough for her, something like that. Jay may try to control Beyonce as he thinks Beyonce is immature. The only way I'm seeing this, like the only thing we've seen with like Jay being controlling is like, you know, kind of wanting to know Beyonce's secrets and like being quite possessive of her because it seems like there is a sort of worry she's gonna step out. Maybe that's, you know, he has that fear with Beyonce because she's not mature, maybe. Beyonce's Mars trine Jay-Z's Neptune. There is a lack of boundaries, and Jay strengthens Beyonce's ego. I mean, this is repeated, she has a big ego here. Beyonce is more dominant, and Beyonce feels more confident around Jay-Z. Beyonce's Mars sextile Jay-Z's Pluto. Beyonce's daring nature is attractive to Jay-Z, so it seems like he is a bit intrigued by her sort of rebelliousness and like her daring nature. Maybe he was quite intrigued by her sort of like rebelling against her image, maybe. Even her family potentially, because her family had a massive part in her like career, especially initially. They have dramatic fights and its potential to be destructive or dangerous, and they have power issues. I mean, understandably, it seems like Beyonce has a lot of power and Jay-Z doesn't seem to be obsessed with it. Jay-Z's Mars square Beyonce's Uranus. It's exciting but unstable, and it is not long-term. Interesting how we're seeing, like, we've seen a bit of both, I feel like, when it comes to long-term and not long-term. Jay-Z gets easily irritated with Beyonce, and they may encourage each other to be reckless. We're seeing, again, recklessness. I should probably also just acknowledge that, because we're seeing the unusual things, and we're also seeing that you know, encouraging each other to be reckless and rebellious and all of that. I do acknowledge that. I just don't know how to comment. Beyonce sees Jay-Z as a threat to her independence, and Beyonce distances herself from Jay-Z. Interesting, you know, considering all the events happening now. that is there. And Beyonce triggers Jay-Z's temper. Jay-Z's Mars sextile Beyonce's Neptune. Jay-Z is captivated by Beyonce, and Jay-Z sees Beyonce as spineless. So he seems to see her as a bit more spineless and immature, which is, obviously he would see a different side to Beyonce than everyone else. But even in this reading, she seems to be quite assertive and with herself, if that makes sense. They've only seen twice there is this element of Beyonce potentially being immature, spineless, according to Jay. The relationship seems unbalanced to outsiders. I wonder if this is maybe within their own private life, their family and friends. Because I feel publicly they're both seen as equals, I would say. Jay-Z's Mars trine Beyonce's Pluto. It's intense and they accomplish a lot together. They enjoy the power play between them and there's lots of primitive energy. They go through big changes here and potential for both to get possessive, not surprisingly so. And Jay helps bring out Beyonce's subconscious to the surface, which I imagine is where the sort of therapist-patient dynamic would happen, that would connect there. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I would be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one. I feel something that didn't come up towards the end that I was kind of hoping to, some more emotional information, which we did see towards the end, how they both are careful to not get emotionally invested in each other, which potentially is why emotionally they don't seem to be there. I feel in pretty much every other part of their relationship, they're somewhat connected and there's a lot of energy going on there. Emotionally, it does seem to be a bit more dead. Definitely thought that was an interesting one as well, considering some of the notes we did see and the climate and the sort of controversies they're going through at the moment. That is there. And of course, if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing. I post these readings weekly. And besides that, give this video a like and I will see you guys next time. Bye.